Really?
Yes.
Really?
You're on.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Let's see. We are at the studio in Montana, which is almost a studio, but we are making pots here. So we brought some glaze down with us that we mixed up and measured out all the ingredients, put them in bags in Alaska, and brought them down the highway with us. This is our waterfall brown. It's a fairly small recipe. I usually mix up enough to make a 5,000 gram batch, which is what, about 10 pounds, a little more. And I thought it might be kind of neat for you to see how we do it. So this is all weighed out, and it's just powder. And we, of course, wear our PPE, personal protective equipment, and get a little draft through the shop while we're this is actually our door into the kiln room now, but it's letting fresh air into the shop. And where'd the mask go?
It's underneath your bucket.
Oh. And Sheila says hi too. Say hi, honey. She's our cameraman, camera person. Camera person. So I'm gonna have this on for a second while I dump the glaze in the bucket here.
And it is connected to the wheel because we use the wheel to help mix.
Yeah, and we'll show you some of that in just a minute. Oh, before I do that, I must put water in the bucket. Can you tell you change studio spaces and work areas and tools and all that stuff from what you're used to, and all of a sudden, you're all disorganized. So
Your measuring container is right next to the water.
So what we do is, well, actually, maybe I won't use a waterfall brown since I already mixed this one up and we need to sieve it. So what I do is dump water in the bucket, and then I dump the dry glaze into the bucket. So I won't need my PPE because I've already done that. And I have 2 buckets. And here's how it started. I had water in here, dumped dry glaze in there, and now that I've done that, when I stirred it with my drill, nice, huh? Battery powered. And this is a plastic paint stirrer. Really nice because I used to use metal ones and they tore the buckets to shreds over time. And you end up with pieces of plastic in your glaze. Not good. So anyway, the way this works is, to stir it up, we have some little bats we made out of just 3/8 inch plywood. Or actually this is 1/2 inch, I think, 1/2 inch plywood. And I took some sheetrock screws, and you can come over here closer, huh, so you can see how it goes. See, it goes, I put some, just drill a couple of holes with a drill. It doesn't have to be perfect, just so it goes on the wheel head. And then I took a bucket and set down in here. And when I got the bucket centered on the wheel head, pretty close, not perfect,
Came off your.
there we go. I put 4 screws on the bucket like that. And they're nice and tight down here. They're nice and snug. And the intent is to hold the bucket so it doesn't slide too much around there. And then you can slowly start your wheel going and get the bucket to go around. And you can see it's not perfectly centered, but that's close enough. Then you can put your drill in and stir your glaze. Really nice. Because I already did that. And I mix it so that it's a little thick. And that's all the mixing part. Once you initially get the dry on top of the water, you mix it up there that way. Then you take this off. You put another bucket on. Unfortunately, all I have is another 5-gallon bucket. I don't have another little one like this. I'd love to use a little one. And take a 80 mesh sieve would be best. We could only get a 60 and it's working, but 80 to 100 would be much better. I like 80. A lot of other people use 100 mesh, which you can get them fairly cheaply on Amazon. Hint, hint. Okay, and you dump a little in. up to maybe 1.5 inches from the top. And while you've got it up here, you can use your finger to clean the edge of the bucket so it doesn't run down any more than you can have to deal with. Keep it fairly clean. We try and save all the glaze that we can. Then you take your your trusty toilet brush.
It's flinging something.
It's water. Start your wheel again, fairly slow. Put it in so that you're on this side toward the front, pushing around the screen. I don't know if you can hear the.
Yeah, I can hear it.
You can hear it going through the sieve. And you just hold it there. Let it go around. And you can spend, I forget how much money, like $100 and something at least, on a fancy talisman hand crank one, or you could just do something like this. There you go. Okay, there's that. Now we'll get some more. Fill it up again. Now I noticed in the bucket, if you can see around here, there's where I dumped the dry stuff in, there's a little bit. You can scrub that a little and loosen all that up from the edges before you dump your next batch in. Now you can see where it's in there. Okay. Try not to get glaze all over the place. Be sure and pour out of the same place that you poured from last time, so you have less to clean when it comes to cleaning out the bucket. Okay. Then we'll take a spatula, get in here, and clean out the bucket. Pretty good. Try and get all of it you can out. Anything you miss at this point ends up in your glaze bucket, your final mix. So try and do the best you can to get this cleaned out. There we go. I keep a little container like this so I can put my dirty stuff in it and not get glaze all over the place by laying it on the table and stuff like that. Okay, I'll put the bucket down there now that it's empty. Strain the rest of it here. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. The main thing is try and get it so that you're on this side of the wheel, so you're pushing into the screen rather than over here and pulling. It's harder to pull it away than it is to push it toward the screen. You can use both hands or lean it on your hip or something if you feel you need to, but you shouldn't have to push that hard to get it to work. If you're pushing too hard and it's a lot of work, it means your glaze may be a little bit too thick for this. And you could add a little bit more water and stir it in. Okay, there's that. Okay. Now, we reverse directions. We go back over to the other bucket. But before I do that, I'm going to take a sponge. See this here? Clean that off. Because that's where the sieve is going to sit. There's no sense getting the sieve dirty on the underside. So, there we go. Gray buckets. Not all buckets are the same size. I managed to luck out and pick the biggest bottom to put my screws on. So you'll want to look at that when you get your glaze buckets. Figure out, like this one's a little bit skinnier and fits looser. Still works fine. Okay, we'll pour it. I'm sieving this twice. A lot of times I'll do it 3 times, but twice seems to be working. When you're mixing up glazes, you don't just want to dump them in the bucket and think that's good enough, though. Sieving it makes a huge difference in keeping things from glomming together in the bucket and getting them separated from each other. Iron oxide's particularly bad at that. You'll get little particles, clumps that stick together the size, and it can look cool in your glaze, but it gives it kind of a peppery look, you know, little dots. But sometimes it gets to be so bad that it becomes little bumps instead of little dots. And sometimes little sharp bumps. So getting ironed out is interesting. Yeah, there's always something. There it is. See if I can get it through here. So, oh, look at that. It's a rock. Ha ha. You never know what you're going to get. You don't want that on your pot, do you? That's why you don't just throw it in a bucket and go. Looks like a piece of quartz. Son of a gun.
Something crystallized maybe?
No, probably something one of the mines managed to throw in their bag by accident. It does happen. Okay, so there's that.
We got a little bit more to do.
And we'll do the last of it again. Get the bucket, we're out of the same place. And we'll scrape it out again.
Let me see if I can get it into that. There we go.
Can you get it?
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see what I'm doing.
Well, there's a difference between the dark and the white. You should be able to tell that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Don't get super picky on this last one. This has been sieved one time already. And what we're going to do is try and use up every last iota of glaze that we can by using a minimal amount of water to clean this bucket and just mix it in with this glaze that's in the smaller bucket.
Because you can still use some more water, huh?
Yeah, we try and make it so it's a little thick so that you can use your cleaning water to do something. So you can use your cleaning water
to go back
to thin
into
down
the
your
clay.
glaze mix to
So you get
closer
all that-
to the right consistency.
So you get all that glaze out of the bucket by using a little bit of clean water
Yeah.
and then you pour it into this bucket.
First, we're going to get rid of what's in the sieve here, though. I'm really surprised. This is actually about as fast as using a talisman sieve, and works just as well. It's pretty impressive. So now I'll take my my spatula. This is a two-handed operation now. Whoops. And we'll clean this out as good as we can. There we go. Pretty good. Now, Get some water. That might be a little bit much to add to the mix. So I'll just use less. It doesn't take much. That's what, that's about 10 ounces of water. So then you can start cleaning your bucket and your sponge, your brush, your toilet brush. It's no longer a toilet brush, it's a glaze brush. Do not use a used toilet brush to mix your glaze. Not a good idea. First of all, toilet bowl cleanser is a base which will flocculate your glaze, believe it or not. Go figure that, but I don't recommend using toilet bowl glaze, cleanser as a flocculant to control the thickness of your glaze. It will make it thicker, by the way. That's what it boils down to. Okay, now we're going to get the brush clean, fairly clean. Not too bad. Okay, now you take this, slosh it around a little bit, make sure it's all the sediments coming out, and dump it down there.
Now you do have some interesting little particles.
Yeah, I got some stuff in some of my raw materials. I've been given raw materials over the years, and I think one of them somehow is getting little chunks of stuff in it. Paint and grit, and well, you saw the rock. So you can wipe this down too, and then when you get all done, don't wipe the screen though.
Yeah, that's
Squeeze your sponge out of it. So there you are. And the stuff that's on the outside here, don't put that unless you want to rinse your sponge out first. You've got a contaminated sponge that you used to wipe the inside. This is not contaminated out here. So you could rinse this out and wipe that off and squeeze it into there if you wanted to. I'm just going to let that go for now. And call it good. So we're basically done. Since I'm not going to put it back in the bucket, I can wipe it off here a little bit, keep it from dribbling all over. And then we're going to rinse this out in the sink and it'll be all done. Whoops. So that's how you do it. Now we have a mixed up glaze. Done by a mixed up potter. Thanks a lot. And I have a good friend who says, keep practicing.